The cleaning maid watched the courtroom erupt as the Mafia boss's lawyer abandoned him. Before the judge could speak the verdict, she stood up and declared she was his wife. What she didn't know, her desperate lie was actually the truth, and now both their lives were in danger. The courthouse smelled like old wood and broken promises. Lena pushed her cleaning cart past the double doors of Courtroom 7, keeping her head down like she always did. Invisible. That's what maids were supposed to be. For 3 years, she'd mopped these marble floors, emptied trash bins full of crumpled legal documents, and listened to lawyers destroy lives with carefully chosen words. Today felt different. The air crackled with tension as she slipped inside to clean the back row. The gallery was packed, reporters, curious civilians, and men in expensive suits who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. At the defendant's table sat Dante Marino, the man every news channel called the most dangerous criminal in the city. Lena's breath caught. Even in handcuffs, Dante looked untouchable. Dark hair swept back, jaw carved from stone, eyes that could freeze fire. The kind of man who commanded rooms without saying a word. But today, something was wrong. His lawyer, the famous Marcus Webb, kept checking his phone, sweat beading on his forehead. "Mr. Webb," Judge Harrison's voice boomed. "Are you ready to present your closing statement?" Webb stood, his chair scraping loudly. "Your Honor, I need to make a motion." The courtroom went silent. "I am withdrawing as counsel, effective immediately." Chaos exploded. Reporters jumped to their feet. The prosecutor's team erupted in celebration. Dante's face remained expressionless, but Lena saw his fingers curl into fists beneath the table. "You can't do this." Dante's voice cut through the noise, sharp as a blade. "We had a deal, Marcus." Webb wouldn't look at him. "My family received threats last night. Death threats. I have children, Dante." "I'm sorry, but I won't die for you." "Coward," someone shouted from Dante's side of the gallery. Judge Harrison slammed his gavel 3 times. "Order. Mr. Webb, this is highly irregular." "I'm within my rights, Your Honor." Webb gathered his briefcase with shaking hands. "I've filed the proper paperwork. I cannot continue." The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Vance, stood with barely contained glee. "Your Honor, the defendant has had months to prepare. If his lawyer abandons him due to the defendant's own criminal associations, that's not the court's problem. I move for immediate sentencing." Dante shot to his feet, chains rattling. "I didn't threaten anyone. Someone's setting me up." "Sit down, Mr. Marino." Judge Harrison pointed his gavel. "One more outburst, and I'll hold you in contempt." Lena's hands gripped her mop handle so tight her knuckles went white. She watched Dante sink back into his chair, saw the way his shoulders tensed. She'd seen that posture before, years ago, on a different man in a different situation. The posture of someone who'd been betrayed when they needed help most. Judge Harrison adjusted his glasses. "Given the extraordinary circumstances, I'll allow a brief recess to determine if Mr. Marino wishes to represent himself or—" "That won't be necessary." The words left Lena's mouth before her brain caught up. Every head in the courtroom turned. 300 pairs of eyes found the small woman in a janitor's uniform standing in the back row, still gripping a mop like a lifeline. "Excuse me?" Judge Harrison leaned forward. "Who are you?" Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. What was she doing? This was insane. But her feet moved forward anyway, carrying her down the aisle like she was walking toward the edge of a cliff. "My name is Lena Reeves," she said, her voice shaking but clear. "And I have the legal right to testify on behalf of the defendant." Patricia Vance laughed. "Your Honor, this is absurd. Remove this woman." "I'm his wife." The courtroom exploded. Reporters stampeded toward the railing. Cameras flashed like lightning. Dante's head snapped toward her, his eyes wide with something Lena had never seen before, shock. "Wife." Patricia's voice could cut glass. "This is a desperate stunt." "Your Honor, I demand." Silence. Judge Harrison's gavel cracked like a gunshot. "Everyone sit down, or I'll clear this entire courtroom." The room settled into electric silence. Lena stood in the center aisle, suddenly aware that she was still holding her mop. She let it clatter to the floor. Judge Harrison fixed her with a stare that could melt steel. "Young lady, do you have any proof of this alleged marriage?" Lena reached into her uniform pocket with trembling fingers. She pulled out a folded piece of paper, worn at the edges, carried close to her heart for 5 years, and walked it to the bench. The judge unfolded it. His eyebrows rose. "It's a marriage certificate," Lena said quietly. "Dated 5 years ago. Both our signatures are there. Legal and binding." Patricia stormed forward. "Let me see that. This is obviously forged." "The seal looks legitimate," Judge Harrison murmured, studying it under the light. "I'll need to verify this, of course, but if this is authentic," he looked at Dante. "Mr. Marino, did you marry this woman?" Dante stared at Lena like he was seeing a ghost. Their eyes met across the courtroom. Lena saw the moment recognition flickered in his gaze, a memory surfacing from years buried deep. His jaw clenched. "Yes," he said slowly. "I did." The courtroom erupted again, but Lena barely heard it. Her knees felt weak. She'd just stepped into the spotlight, exposed herself, thrown away her quiet, safe life. For him. For the man who'd saved her when she had nothing. Judge Harrison slammed his gavel repeatedly. "Order. I'm postponing sentencing for 72 hours while this marriage is verified." "Mrs. Marino," he said the name like it tasted strange. "If you wish to testify, you'll need to file the proper motions." "This court is adjourned." As bailiffs moved toward Lena, she caught Dante's stare one more time. His expression was unreadable, dangerous. But his lips formed 2 silent words. "What did you do?" The holding room smelled like stale coffee and suspicion. 2 security guards flanked Lena, their hands resting on their belts like she might bolt any second. Through the reinforced glass window, she could see reporters swarming the courthouse steps, their cameras hungry for blood. The door slammed open. Dante strode in, still handcuffed but moving like he owned the room. 2 officers followed, hands on their weapons. His eyes locked onto Lena with an intensity that made her want to disappear into the walls. "Leave us," Dante said without breaking eye contact. "Sir, we can't," one officer began. "Leave us." His voice dropped to something dangerous. The guards exchanged glances. The older one nodded. 5 minutes. We'll be right outside." The door clicked shut. Silence pressed down like a weight. Dante circled her slowly, predator assessing prey. Lena forced herself to stand straight, though her legs trembled. "Explain one word." "Flat." "Cold." I couldn't let them." "You just committed perjury in front of 300 witnesses." He stopped inches from her face. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I saved you from a guilty verdict by claiming to be my wife." His laugh was bitter. "They'll tear that certificate apart. When they prove it's fake, you'll go to prison, and I'll get an even harsher sentence for orchestrating a fraud." Lena's hand shot into her pocket. She pulled out the certificate and thrust it toward him. "Look at it. It's not fake." Dante snatched it with his cuffed hands, his eyes scanning the document. She watched his expression shift, confusion, then recognition, then something darker. "Castellano Street Chapel," he read slowly. 5 years ago, his gaze snapped up. "You're the girl from the shipping container." Lena's throat tightened. "You remember, the trafficking ring. Your papers were burned. You were 14, scared out of your mind." His jaw clenched. "I gave you money, got you fake documents to hide from them." "You did more than that." Lena's voice cracked. "When the forger said he needed a legal guardian signature for my new identity, you signed a marriage certificate instead. You told me it was the fastest way to make me disappear into the system. That no one would look for a married woman." Dante stared at the paper like it was a live grenade. "That was supposed to be buried." "Lost." "How do you still have this?" "Because you saved my life." Tears burned her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I kept it. I knew someday I'd need to repay you." "Repay me?" Dante's voice rose. "I'm a dead man, Lena. The warehouse explosion killed 18 people. They have witnesses, forensic evidence. All planted, Lena stepped closer. I know who really did it. Dante froze. What did you say? Councilman Grayson. I clean his office every Thursday night. 3 weeks ago, I was emptying his trash when I heard him on the phone, bragging about eliminating Marino and that troublesome union leader in one explosion. He didn't see me. No one ever sees the cleaning staff. The air between them crackled with possibility. Grayson, Dante repeated slowly. That ambitious snake. He's been trying to push through that waterfront development deal. His eyes sharpened. The union leader who died, Marcus Hendricks, he was blocking the rezoning permits. And you controlled the shipping routes Grayson needed. Lena's words tumbled out faster. He killed 2 birds with 1 bomb. Literally. Dante studied her face like he was searching for lies. Why didn't you go to the police? With what? The word of a courthouse made against a city councilman. Lena shook her head. They'd laugh me out of the building. But as your wife, I can testify. They have to listen. If you're lying to me. I'm not. Lena met his stare without flinching. You gave me a future when I had nothing. You didn't have to help me. You could have walked away. But you didn't. Something shifted in Dante's expression, a crack in the armor. You were just a kid. Anyone would've.
No.
They wouldn't have. Lena's voice hardened. 3 other people saw me that night. They all kept walking. You're the only one who stopped. Before Dante could respond, the door burst open. A man in a black suit rushed in, ignoring the officer's protests. Boss, we've got a problem. Marco, Dante turned. What is it? Someone just tried to run Patricia Vance off the road. She survived, but Marco's eyes flicked to Lena. They left a message on her windshield. The wife knows too much. Lena's blood turned to ice. Dante's expression went from hard to lethal. They know about her already. Worse, Marco pulled out his phone, showing a photo. This was posted on every underground forum 10 minutes ago. It was Lena's face with a red target over it. And a bounty, $500,000. Dead or alive. Judge Harrison's private chambers felt smaller than they should, crammed with leather-bound law books and the weight of impossible decisions. Lena sat in a chair that swallowed her small frame, acutely aware of the prosecutor's venomous glare burning into the side of her head. Patricia Vance hadn't stopped pacing since they'd entered, her heels clicking like a countdown timer. This is theater, Your Honor. Patricia slapped a folder onto the judge's desk. A desperate, transparent attempt to manipulate this court. I want charges filed against this woman immediately. Perjury, obstruction of justice, conspiracy. Ms. Vance. Judge Harrison removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. I'm aware of your position. You've made it exceptionally clear. Dante's new attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Caroline Ross who'd materialized within an hour, leaned forward. Your Honor, the marriage certificate has been submitted to the state registry for verification. Until proven otherwise, my client's marriage is legally binding, which grants Mrs. Marino spousal testimonial privilege. A privilege she's waiving by volunteering to testify, Patricia snapped. Convenient, isn't it? Actually, yes. Caroline's smile was razor-sharp. Unlike forced testimony, voluntary testimony from a spouse carries significant legal weight. Mrs. Marino has information vital to this case. Judge Harrison looked at Lena. His eyes were tired, ringed with the exhaustion of a man who'd seen too many lies. Mrs. Reeves, or Mrs. Marino, if that's legitimate, do you understand the severity of what you're claiming? Lena's mouth felt dry. Yes, Your Honor. You're accusing a city councilman of murder and conspiracy. That's not a small accusation. It's career-ending, potentially life-destroying. For both of you, he leaned back. What evidence do you have? I have testimony, Your Honor. I witnessed Councilman Grayson discussing the explosion. Hearsay, Patricia interrupted. Inadmissible. Let her finish, Judge Harrison warned. Lena's hands twisted in her lap. I know where he keeps records. Phone logs, meeting notes. He's meticulous, documents everything because he thinks he's untouchable. If you give me time, I can retrieve proof. Patricia laughed, sharp and cruel. Oh, this gets better. Now she wants to play detective? Your Honor, this woman is a janitor with zero legal training making wild accusations to save her supposed husband. The only question is whether she's delusional or complicit in his crimes. I'm neither. Lena's voice came out stronger than she felt. I'm someone who cleans offices late at night when powerful men think no one's listening. You'd be surprised what people say when they think you're invisible. The room fell silent. Judge Harrison studied her for a long moment. The certificate is being verified as we speak. The state registry will have results within 72 hours. If it's authentic, you'll have the right to testify, he turned to Patricia. And if Mrs. Marino presents credible evidence implicating Councilman Grayson, I'll have no choice but to investigate. Your Honor, please. However, the judge's tone hardened. Mrs. Marino, if you're fabricating the story, you will face the full consequences of the law.
Perjury.
Obstruction. And I'll personally ensure you serve maximum sentences for wasting this court's time. Do you understand? Lena nodded. I understand. 72 hours, Judge Harrison declared. You have until Monday morning at 9 a.m. to present your evidence. Not testimony. Not accusations. Evidence. Physical, verifiable proof that Councilman Grayson orchestrated the warehouse explosion. Caroline stood. Your Honor, my client is currently facing death threats. There's a bounty on Mrs. Marino's head.
I'm aware.
I've ordered protective custody for both Mr. and Mrs. Marino until this matter is resolved. Judge Harrison's expression softened slightly. Young lady, you've put yourself in extraordinary danger. If even half of what you're saying is true, you've made powerful enemies. I know, Lena whispered. Then why? Why risk everything? The question hung in the air. Lena thought about that night 5 years ago, cold, terrified, certain she was going to die or worse. She remembered Dante's hand on her shoulder, steady and sure, telling her she'd be okay, that he'd make sure of it. Because someone needs to, she met the judge's eyes. Everyone's too afraid of men like Grayson. But I'm already scared. I've been scared my whole life. At least now I'm scared for something that matters. Judge Harrison's expression flickered. Maybe respect, maybe pity. 72 hours, Mrs. Marino. Don't waste them. As they filed out, Patricia caught Lena's arm, her grip like iron. You just signed your death warrant, she hissed. When this falls apart, and it will, I'll bury you so deep, you'll forget what sunlight looks like. Lena pulled free. Then you better hope I fail, Ms. Vance. Because if I succeed, someone else is going to prison. She walked away, feeling Patricia's hatred like knives in her back. The clock was ticking. The police transport bench smelled like metal and fear. Lena sat on the hard bench across from Dante, separated by 2 armed guards who pretended not to listen. Outside, twilight painted the city in shades of amber and shadow. They'd been driving for 20 minutes, taking random turns to avoid potential ambushes. Dante hadn't stopped staring at her. You should have stayed invisible, he finally said, his voice low. That was the whole point of what I did for you. Keep your head down. Stay safe. Live a quiet life. I tried. Lena watched the city blur past the reinforced windows. I got my GED. Found work. Stayed away from trouble. I even changed my last name again, just to be extra careful. Then why throw it all away? Because it wasn't really living, she met his gaze. I was just existing, going through motions. Every day I'd see you on the news, dangerous criminal, ruthless mobster, public enemy, and I knew it wasn't the whole truth. Dante's jaw tightened. You don't know me, Lena. That scared 14-year-old girl met me once. For one night. The man who helped you? He was having a rare moment of conscience. Don't mistake that for who I actually am. You're right. I don't know you, Lena leaned forward. But I know what you did. You didn't just give me papers and money. You sat with me for 3 hours while I cried. You bought me food, actual hot food, and waited until I finished eating. You called a woman named Rosa, who ran a shelter, made sure I had a place to sleep for a month, her voice cracked. You checked on me.
Twice.
You didn't have to do any of that. Something flickered across Dante's face, surprised that she remembered. That warehouse explosion? Lena continued. The one they blamed you for? 18 people died. I read every name. Marco Hendricks, union leader, father of 3. Sophia Chun, night shift supervisor, saving money for her daughter's college. Antonio. Stop, Dante's voice was rough. You think I don't know their names? I know every single 1 inch. Because you didn't kill them.
No.
I didn't, his hands clenched into fists. But I've killed others, Lena. I'm not innocent. I'm not some misunderstood hero. The things I've done are in the past. This crime? This one? You're innocent. And I can prove it. One of the guards shifted uncomfortably. The driver's voice crackled through the intercom. 5 minutes to the courthouse parking garage. Dante studied her face like he was trying to solve an impossible equation. When they verify that marriage certificate is real, do you know what happens? You become a target. Not just from whoever's after me, from my enemies, from the families of people I have hurt, from every opportunist who thinks kidnapping you might give them leverage. I know. You'll never have a normal life again. I haven't had a normal life since I was 12 years old, Lena's voice hardened. Normal is a luxury people like us don't get. You taught me that. Before Dante could respond, the van lurched violently to the left. Tires screamed. Metal crunched. Lena flew sideways, her head cracking against the wall. Through ringing ears, she heard shouting, the guards yelling into radios, the driver cursing. We're under attack, the driver shouted. Black SUV rammed us. 2 more vehicles incoming. Gunfire erupted. Bullets pinged off the armored exterior like deadly rain. Get down. One guard shoved Lena toward the floor. But her eyes found Dante, still sitting upright, handcuffed and vulnerable. The back doors, she could see them buckling under repeated impacts. Someone was trying to breach the van. Another violent swerve. The guard next to Dante tumbled forward, his weapon clattering across the floor. The back doors exploded inward. 2 men in black masks appeared, weapons raised. Time slowed to syrup. Lena saw the gun barrels swing toward Dante, saw his eyes widen, not with fear, but with cold calculation, already planning how to fight in handcuffs. She didn't think. Lena launched herself across the space, slamming into Dante's chest just as the guns fired. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs. Bullets shredded the bench where Dante had been sitting a heartbeat before. Get us out of here, the remaining guard screamed, returning fire. The driver floored it. The van rocketed forward, throwing everyone sideways. The attackers fell back, one tumbling out entirely. The doors swung wildly on broken hinges. More gunfire. More swerving. Lena couldn't tell up from down, only knew she was pressed against Dante, feeling his heart hammer beneath his shirt, his breath hot against her hair. Why? He gasped. Why would you? Because I owe you my life, Lena whispered. And because someone needs to keep you alive long enough to prove you're innocent. Their eyes met, inches apart. Outside, sirens wailed. The war had just begun. The safe house was a fortress disguised as a forgotten warehouse. Lena stumbled through the steel door, adrenaline finally crashing. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Blood trickled from a cut above her eyebrow. She didn't remember getting it. 6 of Dante's men filled the space, all hard eyes and harder weapons. They watched her like a bomb that might explode. She's compromised. One of them, a muscular man with a scar across his throat, said flatly. Could be wearing a wire. Could have led them straight to us. Tommy, Dante's voice carried warning. His handcuffs were finally off, and he rolled his shoulders, working out the stiffness. She just took a bullet for me. Or staged it perfectly. Tommy didn't back down. Think about it, boss. She shows up out of nowhere with a convenient marriage certificate, makes a scene in court, and suddenly we're all targets? That's not coincidence. Marco, the man from the courthouse, stepped forward. He's not wrong, boss. The timing is suspicious. How does a cleaning lady suddenly have evidence against Grayson? How does she know about your past? And why, he gestured at Lena, Would she risk everything unless someone's pulling her strings? Lena's exhaustion turned to anger. You think I'm working for them? They just tried to kill us. Could be theater, Tommy said coldly. Make us trust you. Get inside our operation. Feed information back to whoever's really paying you. I'm not. Enough, Dante raised one hand, and the room fell silent. He studied Lena with those penetrating eyes. You said you have evidence. Not just testimony. Evidence. What is it? Lena took a shaky breath.
Audio recordings.
3 of them. From Grayson's office. The room went still. You recorded him? Marco's eyebrows shot up.
How?
His private office has a panic button under the desk, standard security feature. But there's also a recording system that activates whenever he's in there after hours. It's supposed to be for his protection. In case something happens, Lena's words came faster. But I have access to the building's maintenance systems. I rerouted the backup files to a separate drive. He doesn't know they exist. Dante's expression sharpened. What's on them? The first one is from 3 weeks ago. Grayson talking to someone about the Marino problem and how the warehouse explosion would clean up loose ends. The second is from 2 weeks ago, him laughing about how the evidence was planted perfectly. And the third, Lena met Dante's eyes, is from 4 days ago. Him talking to someone he called detective, discussing how to make sure you got the death penalty.
A cop. Tommy brata.
He's got someone inside the department. Where are these recordings? Dante demanded.
Hidden.
In a storage locker downtown. I knew if I kept them on me or at home, someone might find them. Lena pulled a key from inside her shoe. She'd hidden it there during the chaos. This is the only copy of the key. Marco snatched it from her hand, examining it under the light. Could be a trap. We show up, police are waiting. Then don't send everyone. Lena's frustration boiled over. Send one person. Check it out. If I'm lying, you can shoot me or turn me over to whoever wants me dead. But I'm telling the truth.
Boss. Tommy looked at Dante.
Your call. Dante circled Lena slowly, like he had in the courthouse holding room. But this time, his expression was different. Calculating, searching for cracks in her story. You dove in front of bullets for me, he said quietly. That's either loyalty or an Oscar-worthy performance. It's a debt, Lena said firmly. You saved me when I was nobody. When I had nothing to offer in return. You didn't ask for payment. You just helped. Now you need help, and I'm the only one who can give it. Why not go to the FBI? Internal affairs? Anyone besides the man everyone thinks is guilty? Because I trust you more than I trust them. The words came out raw, honest. You could have sold me back to those traffickers for money. You could have ignored me. You could have done a dozen terrible things. But you didn't. You saw a scared kid and decided to be decent. That tells me more about who you are than any news report. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Dante nodded. Marco, take 2 men to the storage facility. If it's clean, retrieve the recordings. If it's a trap, his eyes locked on Lena, you know what to do. And her? Tommy jerked his chin toward Lena. She stays here. Under watch, Dante's voice dropped to something dangerous. But nobody touches her. If she's telling the truth, she's the only chance we have. If she's lying. He left the threat unfinished. Lena swallowed hard. The countdown had begun. Dawn broke gray and cold over the city. Lena hadn't slept. She'd spent the night on a worn couch under Tommy's unblinking stare, every creak of the warehouse making her jump. Her body ached from the van attack, bruises blooming purple across her ribs. The steel door clanged open. Marco entered first, his face carved from stone. 2 men followed, both empty-handed. The air in the room shifted, became heavy, suffocating. Dante rose from where he'd been studying maps at a table. Well? Marco's silence spoke volumes. It was ransacked, he finally said. Every unit on that floor broken into, but hers especially. Someone knew exactly which one to hit. Lena's stomach dropped.
No.
That's impossible. Nobody knew. Apparently somebody did. Marco tossed a plastic bag onto the table. Inside was a single piece of paper. Dante pulled it out, his jaw tightening as he read. Then he turned it toward Lena. For words in blood-red ink. Go home, wife. The room tilted. Lena gripped the couch arm to steady herself. They know.
They know everything about me.
Not just about you, Dante's voice was ice. About the recordings. About the storage unit. About your plan. His eyes cut to her like knives. Want to explain how that's possible? I don't know. I was careful. Lena's mind raced. The only time I mentioned it was yesterday, in the judge's chambers. Could someone have been listening? Chambers are swept for bugs daily, Marco said. Unless, he paused, unless someone in that room is feeding information. Tommy stood abruptly. The prosecutor. Patricia Vance. She was there. What if she's on Grayson's peril? Or the lawyer, another man suggested. Caroline Ross showed up awfully fast. Too fast. Dante held up a hand for silence. His eyes never left Lena's face. Or the maid gave them a heads up before she ever walked into that courtroom. I didn't. Lena shot to her feet, ignoring the pain in her ribs. Why would I risk my life, take bullets, if I was working for them? To get close to me. To find out where my safe houses are, who my people are, what I know. Dante stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. Maybe the attack on the van was theater. Maybe you knew exactly where they'd hit, positioned yourself perfectly to play hero. That's insane. Is it? His voice dropped to a whisper only she could hear. I've been betrayed by people I trusted far more than a girl I helped one time 5 years ago. Give me one reason, one solid reason, why I shouldn't assume you're a plant. Lena's breath came fast, panicked. Her mind scrambled for proof, for something, anything that would convince him. Then it hit her. The janitor, she gasped. At the council building. His name is Ernest Cho. He works the night shift, same as me. He saw Grayson too, heard him talking about the explosion. I didn't mention him in chambers because I wanted to keep him safe, but he's a witness. He can corroborate everything. Dante's expression didn't change. Convenient. Another witness only you know about. Check the employment records. Call the building. He's real, and if Grayson knows I mentioned the recordings, he might go after Ernest too. Desperation clawed at her throat.
Please.
Just check. If I'm lying, you'll know in 5 minutes. A long, terrible silence. Marco pulled out his phone. I'll make the call. The weight felt like drowning. Lena watched Dante's face, searching for any hint of what he was thinking. His expression remained carved from granite, giving nothing away. Marco's face went pale as he listened to whoever was on the line. When?
Pause. Jesus.
Yeah, send me the address. He lowered the phone slowly.
Well?
Dante demanded. Ernest Cho was found an hour ago in his apartment. Someone beat him half to death. He's in critical condition at Memorial Hospital. Marco's voice was tight. Witnesses say 2 men in suits visited him around midnight. Left his place destroyed. The room erupted in low, angry voices. Lena's knees buckled. She sank onto the couch, horror washing over her. Ernest. Oh God, Ernest. He has a daughter. She's only 7. They're cleaning up loose ends, Tommy said grimly. Anyone who might have information. Dante crouched in front of Lena, forcing her to meet his eyes. If he wakes up, can he tell us anything useful? Before he went unconscious, he told the paramedic something. Marco read from his phone. He said, tell Lena, Pier 19 warehouse. He keeps everything there. Dante stood, his decision made. Then that's where we're going. Boss, it's obviously a trap, Tommy protested. I know. Dante's smile was cold and sharp. But it's the only trap we've got. The television screen blazed with Lena's face. Not a flattering photo. They'd found her old ID picture from when she first started at the courthouse. Hair messy, eyes wide, looking exactly like what the headlines claimed. Desperate fraud or delusional stalker? Lena stood frozen in the safe house, watching her life get shredded on live television. Sources confirm the marriage certificate is being called into question, the news anchor said with barely concealed glee. Forensic experts suggest the document may have been artificially aged to appear legitimate. Patricia Vance, lead prosecutor in the Marino case, released a statement just minutes ago. Patricia's face filled the screen, her expression perfectly calibrated, sympathetic but firm. "This is a heartbreaking situation," Patricia said to the cameras. "We believe Ms. Reeves is a troubled young woman who became obsessed with Dante Marino, perhaps seeing him as some kind of romantic figure. The marriage certificate appears to be an elaborate forgery designed to insert herself into his life. We're pursuing charges of obstruction of justice, perjury, and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice."
Lang Beach, Marco Mater.
The anchor continued. "We spoke with former colleagues of Ms. Reeves, who paint a disturbing picture. A woman Lena vaguely recognized appeared on screen, Sandra, who worked the day shift. Lena was always weird, quiet,
Kept to herself.
She'd stare at newspapers with Dante's photo for way too long. I told my supervisor it was creepy, but nobody listened." "I never," Lena's voice cracked. "That's not true. I barely spoke to her." Another colleague appeared, a man from building maintenance. "She asked me once how to access restricted areas of the courthouse. Said she wanted to understand the building layout better. I thought it was suspicious then. Now it makes sense. She was planning this stunt." "They're lying." Lena spun toward Dante. "They're making it all up. I never said those things." "Of course they are." Dante's voice was flat, unreadable. "Grayson's paying them to destroy your credibility. By the time you get to testify, the jury will think you're mentally unstable." The news cut to a psychiatrist being interviewed. "Classic signs of erotomania, a delusional disorder where someone believes another person is in love with them. The subject often goes to extreme lengths to insert themselves into their target's life." Tommy turned off the television. The silence felt worse than the accusations. Lena's phone, one of Dante's burner phones she'd been given, buzzed with notifications. Social media had found her. Hundreds, thousands of messages flooded in. Threats. Mockery. A few supportive messages drowned in oceans of hate. "Crazy bitch thinks she can save a murderer." "Attention-seeking whore. Someone should put her down. When she gets arrested, I hope she rots." Her hand shook so badly she dropped the phone. "Stop looking at it," Marco said, not unkindly. "It'll only make it worse." "They're destroying me." Lena's voice came out small, broken. "Even if we prove everything, even if we find the evidence, nobody will believe me. They'll think I'm crazy. They'll think I fabricated everything." "That's the point." Dante leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Grayson's smart. He's not just attacking the evidence, he's attacking you. Make the messenger look insane, and the message becomes irrelevant. So, what do? We go to Pier 19. We find whatever Ernest wanted you to find." Dante pushed off the wall. "And we do it fast, before Grayson can spin this any further." Lena's phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. "Hello?" "Lena Reeves." A professional woman's voice. "This is Margaret Chen. My sister was Sophia Chen. She died in that warehouse explosion." Lena's breath caught. She remembered the name from her research, night shift supervisor, saving for her daughter's college. I'm so sorry for your loss," Lena managed. "I've been watching the news. They're saying you're crazy, that you made all this up." A pause, heavy with emotion. "But my sister told me something 2 weeks before she died. She said a man in an expensive suit came to the warehouse asking strange questions about security protocols. She thought it was weird but didn't report it because he said he was from the insurance company." Lena's heart hammered. "What did he look like?" "Late 40s, silver hair at the temples, spoke like a politician." Sophia took a photo of his car's license plate, just in case. "I found it in her things after." Margaret's voice broke. "I ran the plate yesterday. It's registered to a shell company. But the company's address? It's listed as Councilman Grayson's campaign headquarters. Do you still have the photo? I'll email it to you. And Lena?" Margaret's voice strengthened. "If you're telling the truth about who really killed my sister, then I don't care what the news says. I'll testify. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that bastard pays." Lena's eyes burned with tears, but this time, not from despair. "Thank you," she whispered. When she hung up, Dante was watching her. "We just got a witness," Lena said, straightening her spine. "A real one. With proof." For the first time, Dante's expression softened. Just slightly. "Then let's not waste it." Night fell like a shroud over the safe house. Lena found the stairs to the roof by accident, seeking escape from the suffocating walls and the eyes of Dante's men. The door creaked open to reveal a flat expanse of gravel and ventilation units, the city sprawling beyond like a sea of lights. She walked to the edge, gripping the rusted railing. Below, traffic hummed, people going home to normal lives, to families who weren't being destroyed on national television. The tears came without warning. Not delicate, silent crying. Ugly, gasping sobs that tore through her chest. She'd held it together through the attack, the interrogation, the public execution of her character. But here, alone in the dark, the dam finally broke. 5 years of staying invisible, of building a quiet life.
Gone.
All of it gone in one impulsive moment of loyalty. "I thought you might be up here." Lena spun around, hastily wiping her face. Dante stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the dim stairwell light. He held 2 bottles of water. "I'm fine," she said automatically. "You're not," he walked over, offering her a bottle. Nobody would be. She took it but didn't drink, just clutched it like a lifeline. They stood in silence, the city noise filling the space between them. "I'm sorry," Dante finally said. Lena looked at him, startled. "For what?" "For this." All of it, his jaw tightened. "You were right earlier, you had a life. Maybe not exciting, but it was yours. Safe. And I destroyed that the moment I helped you 5 years ago. You saved me 5 years ago. Did I?" His laugh was bitter. "Or did I just delay the inevitable? If I'd walked away that night, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have a target on your back. You'd probably be living somewhere quiet, maybe with a normal job, normal friends." "Normal? I'd probably be dead." Lena's voice was soft but certain. "Or worse. Those traffickers don't let people go, Dante. You didn't just save me, you gave me a chance. What I did with it was my choice. And look where it got you." Standing on a roof with a man she stopped abruptly, the words catching in her throat. Dante turned to face her fully. "The man you what?" Lena's heart hammered. The exhaustion, the fear, the adrenaline, everything crashed together, stripping away her filters. "The man I loved from a distance for 5 years," she whispered.
There.
"You want the truth? That's it. I'm the pathetic girl from the news who became obsessed with her savior. Except it wasn't obsession. It was she struggled to find words. It was gratitude that turned into something else. Something I knew was impossible. Lena." "Let me finish," she held up a hand. "I'm not stupid. I know what you are. Who you are. I know you live in a world of violence and power and moral compromises I can't even imagine. I know that someone like me, a cleaning lady with a forged identity and no family, doesn't belong anywhere near someone like you." The words poured out now, unstoppable. "But I'd see you on the news, and I'd remember how gentle your voice was that night. How you bought me soup and waited while I ate, even though you had 100 more important things to do. How you looked me in the eye and promised I'd be okay. And I believed you," her voice cracked. "Nobody had ever made me feel safe before. Not ever.
Just you.
Just once." Dante stood frozen, his expression unreadable in the darkness. "So yeah," Lena continued, tears streaming freely now. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I am crazy for stepping into that courtroom. Maybe I am delusional for thinking I could save you. But I had to try. Because 5 years ago, you didn't have to save me, and you did it anyway. I couldn't do less for you." Silence stretched between them, vast and terrible. Then Dante moved. He closed the distance in 2 strides and pulled her into his arms, not romantically, but firmly, solidly, like an anchor. Lena's breath hitched in surprise before she collapsed against his chest, finally letting herself break completely. You're not crazy, he said quietly, his voice rumbling through her. You're brave. Stupidly, impossibly brave. And I don't deserve it. You do. I don't. He pulled back just enough to look at her face, his hands gentle on her shoulders. But I'm going to try. We're going to find the evidence. We're going to clear my name. And then he hesitated. Then you're going to have a choice. What choice? Whether to stay in this world, or run as far from it and me as possible. His eyes held hers. Because Lena, if you stay, there's no going back to invisible. You'll always be a target. Always be in danger. Always be looking over your shoulder. And if I run... His smile was sad. Then you get the life you deserved all along. Lena wiped her eyes, straightening her spine. Let's survive tomorrow first.
Deal.
As they turned to go back inside, Dante's hand found hers in the darkness. And this time he didn't let go. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Lena pulled the nurse's scrubs tighter around herself, grateful for Marco's connection who'd smuggled them inside through the service entrance. Visiting hours were over, and security was tight. News of Ernest's attack had made him a person of interest in the Marino case. Dante walked beside her, disguised in a doctor's coat and glasses. Tommy and another man flanked them at a distance, eyes scanning for threats. Room 347. Marco's voice crackled through the earpiece Lena wore. 2 officers outside the door. You'll need to move fast. Lena's hands trembled as they approached the ICU ward. Through the small window in Ernest's door, she could see him, tubes everywhere, face swollen and bruised beyond recognition. Machines beeped steadily, the only proof he was still alive. The 2 officers looked bored, one scrolling through his phone. Excuse me, Lena said, injecting authority into her voice. We're here to check his vitals. Doctor's orders. The younger officer frowned. Nobody said anything about. Do you want to be the one who explains to the captain why a witness died because you delayed medical care? Dante's voice was ice. Call it in if you want. But while you're on the phone, his oxygen saturation is dropping. The officer's eyes flicked to the monitors visible through the window, seeing nothing alarming but unwilling to risk it. 5 minutes. We'll be right here. Inside, Lena rushed to Ernest's bedside. Up close, the damage was worse. His breathing labored, one eye completely swollen shut. Whoever did this had been thorough and vicious. Ernest, she whispered, touching his hand gently. It's Lena. Can you hear me? Nothing. Just the steady beep of machines. Dante moved to the window, keeping watch. We don't have much time. Ernest, please. Desperation crept into Lena's voice. You told the paramedics about Pier 19. What's there? What did you see? A monitor beeped differently. Ernest's working eye fluttered, struggling to open. Lena? His voice was barely a rasp, broken glass scraping throat. I'm here. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm so...
Not.
Your fault. Each word cost him. They came.
Asking about you. I didn't. Tell them anything.
But they knew. Knew you'd been. In Grayson's office.
How?
How did they know? Ernest's hand squeezed hers weakly. Cameras. Hidden ones. Not the official building security. Grayson's.
Personal system.
He watches. Everyone. Lena's blood ran cold. He saw me. He's known this whole time. Pier 19, Ernest coughed, crimson flecking his lips. Old boiler room. Basement level. He keeps. Backup servers. Everything's there. All his. Dirty deals. Insurance policy. Against his partners. Dante turned from the window. Partners? Who? Don't know names.
But.
Saw him there once. Monthly meetings. Men in. Expensive suits. Ernest's breathing became more labored. Cops too. Judges. The corruption.
Goes higher than
you think. The door burst open. Not the officers. A doctor Lena had never seen before, moving too fast, hand reaching inside his coat. She caught the glint of metal. Down. Dante shoved Lena aside just as the gun emerged. Tommy crashed through from the hallway, tackling the fake doctor before he could fire. They hit the floor hard, the gun skittering under Ernest's bed. The two officers rushed in, confused and shouting. Chaos erupted. In the struggle, the fake doctor's badge fell open, revealing his real ID. Detective James Morrison, Homicide Division. He's a cop. One of the real officers breathed, horrified. Detective Morrison fought like a cornered animal, landing a vicious punch that sent Tommy reeling. He scrambled for the gun, fingers closing around the grip. Dante's foot came down on his wrist. Hard. Bone crunched. Morrison screamed, and the gun was kicked away. The officers finally subdued him, zip-tying his wrists while radioing for backup. "You don't understand," Morrison gasped, blood streaming from his nose. "You can't touch Grayson.
He owns this city."
Judges, cops, politicians, he's got everyone. You go to Pier 19, you're dead. All of you. Then why send you to kill a man in a coma? Lena demanded, finding her voice. Morrison's laugh was unhinged. Because he knows too much. Everyone who knows too much dies. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. Not anymore, Dante said coldly. As more officers flooded the room, real ones this time, along with hospital security, Lena turned back to Ernest. His working eye found hers, and despite everything, he managed the ghost of a smile. "Be careful."
"Lena."
"Promise me." "I promise," she squeezed his hand.
"Thank you, Ernest."
"For everything." "Tell my daughter," his voice faded.
"Tell Amy.
Her daddy loves her." The machines beeped steadily as medical staff ushered them out. In the hallway, surrounded by chaos and questions, Dante met Lena's eyes.
"Pier 19, he said.
"Tomorrow morning. Before they can move whatever's there." "It's a trap," Tommy said, nursing his bruised jaw. Morrison was right about that much. "I know," Dante's smile was sharp and dangerous. "So we'd better set one of our own." Pier 19 rose from the morning fog like a skeleton, rusted girders and broken windows, a monument to the city's forgotten industrial past. Lena crouched beside Dante behind a stack of rotting shipping containers, watching the warehouse through binoculars. Marco and Tommy were positioned on opposite sides, two more men covering their exit route. The plan was simple. Get in, find the servers in the basement boiler room, get out. Simple plans never survived first contact. Movement. Marco's voice crackled through the earpiece. East entrance. 2 men. Armed. West side too, Tommy reported. 4 more. They're not even trying to hide. Dante's jaw tightened. They want us to know they're here. They're funneling us toward the basement. So we don't go? Lena whispered.
No.
We go exactly where they want us. His eyes gleamed with cold calculation. But not how they expect. He outlined the plan quickly. Marco and Tommy would create a distraction at the main entrance, drawing the guards away. Dante and Lena would slip in through the old drainage pipe on the south side, tight, disgusting, but unguarded. And when we're inside? Lena asked. We move fast and pray. 10 minutes later, Lena was belly crawling through a pipe that reeked of stagnant water and decay, her heart hammering so loud she was sure the guards could hear it. Dante moved ahead of her, silent and efficient despite his size. They emerged in a flooded sub-basement, water ankle-deep and freezing. Gunfire echoed from above. Marco and Tommy's distraction had begun. This way, Dante pulled out a small flashlight, illuminating a rusted door marked boiler room. Authorized personnel only. The door wasn't locked. Another bad sign. Inside, the boiler room was a cathedral of old machinery, massive tanks and pipes creating shadows within shadows. And there, in the far corner, surrounded by extension cords and blinking lights, 3 black server towers, humming with power. That's it, Lena breathed. That's Grayson's insurance policy. They rushed forward. Dante pulled out a portable hard drive while Lena booted up the system. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, years of late-night computer training at the library paying off. Files are encrypted, she muttered. But the encryption is old. Give me 2 minutes. You have one. The progress bar crawled forward. 30%. 45%. 60%. A sound echoed from above. Footsteps on metal stairs. Multiple sets. Company, Dante said quietly, drawing his weapon. Keep working. The footsteps grew louder. Lena's hands shook as she typed override commands. 75%. 82%. Hello, Mr. Marino, Councilman Grayson's voice slithered through the darkness. And Mrs. Marino. How domestic. Lights blazed on, blinding. Lena threw up her arm, squinting against the sudden brightness. When her vision cleared, her blood turned to ice. Grayson stood on the upper walkway, flanked by 8 armed men. But it was the person beside him that made Lena's world tilt. Caroline Ross, Dante's lawyer. Surprised? Caroline's smile was sharp. You should have wondered how I appeared so quickly after Webb quit. Grayson called me the moment the maid made her little scene. You were supposed to defend me, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. I was supposed to monitor you. Make sure you stayed predictable. Caroline descended the stairs, heels clicking. But then your little wife started causing problems. Finding witnesses. Making connections. We couldn't have that. The recordings, Lena gasped, understanding flooding in. You told them about the storage unit. You were in the judge's chambers. Give the girl a prize. Grayson leaned on the railing. Did you really think a cleaning lady could outsmart me? I've owned this city for 15 years. Every conversation, every move you made, I saw it all. The download hit 95%. Here's what's going to happen, Grayson continued. You're both going to disappear. A murder-suicide. How tragic. The desperate wife who killed her mobster husband before turning the gun on herself. The city will mourn, the case will close, and life moves on. And the evidence? Dante asked, stalling. Will be destroyed. Along with Ernest Cho. Oh, didn't you hear? He died an hour ago. Heart failure. So unfortunate. Grayson's smile was poison. You have no witnesses, no proof, no hope. 98%. Lena's hand inched toward the hard drive port. Just a few more seconds. Shoot them, Grayson ordered. But make the woman watch him die first. Everything happened at once. The download completed with a soft beep. Lena yanked the hard drive free, clutching it to her chest. Dante fired upward, his bullet shattering the lights, plunging the room into darkness. Gio, he roared. Lena ran blindly, following the sound of his voice. Gunfire erupted behind them, muzzle flashes illuminating the chaos. She felt Dante's hand grab her arm, pulling her toward a ventilation shaft, barely visible in the darkness. Inside.
Now.
I can't fit. Yes, you can. Hands shoved her forward. The metal shaft was tight, suffocating, but Lena scrambled through on pure adrenaline, the hard drive pressed against her stomach. Behind her, Dante's bulk barely squeezed through. Bullets pinged off metal. Shouts echoed. And then, hands grabbing her ankles, pulling her backward. Got her. The hands yanked Lena backward, her fingernails scraping uselessly against metal. She screamed, kicking wildly, feeling the hard drive slip from her grip. Dante's hand shot past her, catching it midair. Go. Keep going. I can't leave you. You have to. His voice was raw with urgency. Get to the courthouse. This evidence dies if we both die. A gunshot rang out inside the shaft. Dante grunted in pain. Dante. Go. The hands released her suddenly. Dante had kicked backward, buying her seconds. Lena scrambled forward through the ventilation shaft, tears blurring her vision. The hard drive clutched to her chest like a lifeline. The shaft opened into an alley. She dropped 6 feet, landing hard, ankles screaming in protest. Behind her, the warehouse erupted with gunfire and shouting.
Run.
She had to run. Lena limped through the morning streets, a blood-streaked woman in torn clothes, clutching a hard drive worth more than her life. People stared. Someone tried to help. She pushed past them all, single-minded, desperate. The courthouse. Get to the courthouse. Her phone, miraculously still in her pocket, buzzed.
Marco.
Lena, Tommy, and I are pinned down. Dante's still inside. They've got. The line went dead. Lena ran faster, ignoring the agony in her ankle, the stitch in her side, the voice screaming that Dante might already be dead. The hard drive was warm against her chest. Lives depended on it.
Truth depended on it.
The courthouse steps appeared like salvation. She stumbled through the metal detectors, setting off alarms. Security guards moved toward her, hands on weapons. "Judge Harrison," she screamed. "I need Judge Harrison."
Now.
"Ma'am, you need to calm down." "The evidence." "I have the evidence." She held up the hard drive like a holy relic. "Dante Marino is innocent, and I can prove it." Chaos erupted.
More guards.
Shouting. Someone tried to take the hard drive from her hands, and she bit them. Feral with desperation. "Somebody get Judge Harrison." And then, impossibly, he was there, pushing through the crowd in his black robes, eyes wide with shock. "Mrs. Marino?" He took in her appearance, blood, dirt, wild-eyed terror. "What in God's name?" "Emergency session."
Now.
"Please." Lena thrust the hard drive toward him. "Everything's on here. Everything. But they're going to kill him. They're killing him right now, and if we don't." Her legs gave out. The judge caught her, surprisingly strong for his age. "Someone call an ambulance. And get Patricia Vance and security in courtroom 7 immediately." He looked at Lena. "Can you walk?" "I can crawl if I have to." His expression softened slightly. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." Courtroom 7 filled in minutes. Reporters who'd been camped outside, early arrivals for other cases, court staff drawn by the commotion. Lena sat at the defendant's table, alone, covered in filth and blood that might not all be hers. Patricia Vance stormed in. "Your Honor, this is completely irregular. This woman is not a lawyer. She can't just—" "Sit down, Ms. Vance." Judge Harrison's voice carried steel. "Mrs. Marino has invoked her right to present evidence under extraordinary circumstances. I'm allowing it, but the defendant isn't even here." "Then you have nothing to worry about." He turned to his clerk. "Connect that hard drive to the courtroom display system." Lena's hands shook as she plugged it in. The screen flickered to life, showing file directories, hundreds of them, meticulously organized by date. "Your Honor," Lena's voice cracked, "these are backup files from Councilman Grayson's personal servers. They contain audio recordings, financial records, and meeting notes spanning 5 years of criminal activity." Patricia's face went pale. "Those files were obtained illegally. They're inadmissible." Actually, a new voice rang out. "They're not." Margaret Chen stood in the gallery, flanked by 2 FBI agents. "I'm Margaret Chen, sister of Sophia Chen, one of the warehouse explosion victims. 2 days ago, I provided the FBI with evidence that Councilman Grayson's associates were surveilling the warehouse before the explosion." She walked forward, placing a folder on the judge's bench. "They've obtained a warrant for these exact servers. Everything on that hard drive is now federal evidence." The courtroom exploded with murmurs. "Play file dated 3 weeks ago," Margaret said quietly to Lena. "The one marked Marino solution." Lena's fingers found it.
Clicked.
Grayson's voice filled the courtroom, crystal clear. "Marino's got too much control over the waterfront. And Hendricks Union is blocking every permit. We take them both out, blame Marino for it, and the development deal goes through. 2 birds, 1 bomb. Literally." Another voice, cold and calculating. "What about collateral damage?" "Acceptable losses. A few workers, some union thugs. Nobody important." Gasps echoed through the gallery. Patricia Vance stood frozen, her face ashen. Judge Harrison's expression was thunderous. "Bailiff, issue an immediate warrant for Councilman Grayson's arrest on charges of conspiracy to commit murder, 18 counts of homicide, and obstruction of justice." The doors burst open. Dante stumbled in, supported by Marco and Tommy. His shirt was soaked with blood, his face battered, but his eyes found Lena's across the courtroom. He was alive. "Your Honor," he said, his voice rough but steady, "I believe you have some charges to dismiss." The gavel's crack echoed like thunder. In light of the evidence presented, Judge Harrison declared, his voice carrying the weight of justice finally served. All charges against Dante Marino in connection with the warehouse explosion are hereby dismissed. Mr. Marino, you are free to go. The courtroom erupted. Reporters surged forward. Camera flashes turned the room into lightning. Patricia Vance sat motionless, staring at nothing, her career crumbling in real time. FBI agents moved through the crowd, already coordinating Grayson's arrest. But Lena only saw Dante. He swayed slightly, hand pressed to his side where blood seeped through his shirt. A paramedic tried to approach him, but he waved them off, his eyes locked on hers. Tommy and Marco stepped back, giving them space. You did it, Dante said quietly, crossing the distance between them. You actually did it. We did it. Lena stood on shaky legs, her injured ankle screaming in protest. I couldn't have. You crawled through hell, half dead, to bring that evidence here. His hand rose to her face, thumb brushing away dirt and tears she didn't remember crying. You saved my life. Again. The debt's paid then, her voice cracked. We're even. Lena. It's okay, she stepped back, his hand falling away. The space between them suddenly felt vast. You're free now. You can go back to your life, and I can figure out what comes next. We don't have to pretend anymore. The courtroom buzzed around them, but they stood in a bubble of silence. Dante's jaw tightened. Is that what you think this was? Pretending? What else would it be? Lena forced herself to meet his eyes.
We're not really married.
Not in any way that matters. The certificate was just paperwork to save a scared kid. And I stepped into your life because I owed you. That's all this is. All it can be. That's all it can be? Dante's voice dropped dangerously low. After everything? After you put a target on your back, faced down armed killers, risked your life a dozen times over. You think that's just paying a debt? What else would I call it? Love. The word hung between them, impossible and terrifying. Lena's breath caught. Don't. Please don't say things you don't mean just because. I almost died today, Dante cut her off, his voice raw with something she'd never heard before, vulnerability. In that warehouse, when they had me, all I could think was that you'd make it out. That you'd be safe. That maybe, for once, someone good wouldn't be destroyed because of me. Dante. And then I heard you screaming my name when they grabbed you, and I lost my mind. He stepped closer, crowding her space. I have killed men for less than looking at me wrong. I've built an empire on fear and blood and ruthless calculation. But you, his voice cracked, you make me want to be better than what I am. Tears spilled down Lena's cheeks.
I'm nobody.
A cleaning lady with a fake identity and no family. Your world eats people like me alive. Then I'll burn my world down. His hands found her face again, cradling it like something precious. I'll walk away from all of it if that's what it takes. The business, the territory, the reputation, none of it means anything if you're not safe. You don't mean that. Try me. The courtroom faded away. The cameras, the reporters, the chaos, all of it dissolved until there was only him, only them, only this impossible moment.
I'm scared, Lena whispered.
I'm so scared this isn't real. That tomorrow you'll wake up and realize I'm not worth. Dante kissed her. Soft at first, then deeper, his hands tangling in her hair, her fingers clutching his blood-stained shirt. The courtroom erupted in shocked gasps and camera flashes, but neither of them cared. When they finally broke apart, Dante rested his forehead against hers. 5 years ago, I helped a terrified girl because it was the right thing to do, he murmured. I didn't expect her to become the bravest person I've ever known. I didn't expect her to save me right back. And I sure as hell didn't expect to fall in love with her. What happens now? Lena's voice was barely audible.
Now.
Dante pulled back just enough to look at her properly. Now we walk out of here together.
We deal with the fallout.
We figure out what our life looks like, really looks like, not fake paperwork marriage, but actual partners. And if it doesn't work, then we'll fail together. His smile was crooked, genuine. But I don't think we will. He laced his fingers through hers, the same gesture from the rooftop, but different now. Intentional.
Claiming.
Does our marriage end here? He asked quietly, echoing his earlier words, or should we give it a real chance? Lena looked at their intertwined hands, at the man who'd saved her twice and let her save him back, at the impossible future stretching before them. She smiled through her tears. Let's give it a real chance. Together, they walked toward the courthouse doors, toward the cameras and questions and uncertain future. But this time, neither of them walked alone.
The end.